You may be wondering, what are regulations and where do they fit in the research process? Here's the research process I recommend. Anytime you're doing legal research, start with secondary sources. After secondary sources, look for statutes, federal statutes if it's a federal issue, or state statutes if it's a state law issue. What I recommend that you do next is look for regulations. This is an easy step to forget. Don't forget to do it. A lot of statutes and regulations work together. I'll show you what I mean. Suppose you're researching a discrimination issue. Discrimination against an employee based on a disability. When you're looking for statutes, you discover the federal statute, the Americans with Disabilities Act, the ADA. You might think, oh, I'm done, but you're not, because there is an agency called the EEOC, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, and this agency has promulgated regulations on your topic. These regulations are intended to work with the ADA. These regulations are 29 CFR Part 1630. Here are these regulations on Westlaw. You see that these regulations implement the equal employment provisions of the Americans with Disabilities Act. Your research is not complete until you have found these regulations in addition to your federal statute. Here's another example. You're doing research on federal election law. You're helping a client register a political committee. You found the relevant statute. However, there is an agency called the Federal Elections Commission. They have a regulation that covers this as well. It is 11 CFR 102.1. And here is that regulation. Federal regulations come from federal agencies. Here's a list of some of the federal agencies that have regulations. These are some of the well-known agencies: the IRS, the EPA, the SEC, etc. Federal regulations are located in the Code of Federal Regulations, which is abbreviated CFR. The CFR is an arrangement of all current federal regulations. Next, I'm going to go over how the CFR is organized. Understanding the arrangement of the CFR makes it easier to find regulations. The CFR is divided into 50 different titles. Here is the list. This is similar to the list of titles of the United States Code. If you're researching regulations that have to do with banking, you would go to Title 12 of the CFR. There are a number of agencies that regulate banking, such as the Federal Reserve, the FDIC, etc. All of their regulations are in Title 12 of the CFR. I've highlighted two titles here, Title 16 and Title 17. We're going to look at these two titles to see how they're organized. Title 16 is commercial practices. There are two federal agencies that regulate commercial practices: the Federal Trade Commission and the Consumer Product Safety Commission. They are each given their own chapter in Title 16. Title 17 of the CFR covers commodity and securities exchange. Two agencies that work in this area are the Commodities Future Trading Commission and the Securities and Exchange Commission. The regulations of the Commodities Futures Trading Commission are in Chapter 1 of Title 17. The regulations of the Securities and Exchange Commission are in Chapter 2 of Title 17. Let's look at Chapter 1. The regulations of the Commodities Futures Trading Commission. Their regulations are divided into topics. Here are a few of those topics. In the CFR, these topics are referred to as parts. Here, Part 5 are the regulations dealing with off-exchange foreign currency transactions. If that's the topic you're researching, you would go to Part 5 to see a list of the individual regulations. Here are the first 4 regulations. We'll look at Section 5.2, which covers prohibited transactions. The citation of this regulation is 17 CFR 5.2. That is, Title 17 of the CFR, Part 5, Section 2. Notice that the regulation looks a lot like a statute. It's formatted in pretty much the same way. Watch the next video to see how to search the CFR online.